All right, so this is going to be a really short episode of the Understanding Social Work podcast. I'm going to do a full episode tomorrow, but I just want to do a quick one regarding mental health. With the election around the corner, there's a lot of stress, anxiety with the pandemic and everything. There's just a lot of stress and anxiety in the world, and I think it's important that we take a minute to think about our mental health. Um, Whoever you want to win, Biden or Trump, place to tell you who to vote for. But I will say an election causes a lot of stress, and find ways not make yourself go crazy. My my goal during the 2020 election, 2020 year, was to not let the election make me go crazy, because 2016 it did. And that's what I'm going to stay at. And I feel like we need to take a minute to think of what are the ways that we can do to better ourselves. And social workers are always going to have been high stress situations, part of the business and part of the work. But what can we do to relax? And I think it's super important to just think of a few strategies that you can do to better yourself, to not make yourself go crazy. Because it's easy to go crazy during an election, especially this one, especially this year with the pandemic. We've all getting frustrated, getting cabin fever. So I want everybody to think of ways that you can do it, but I want you to think more than that. I think you want to think of to write a list of number of strategies that you can do as a way to relax, whether it's do exercise, whether it's maybe for people it's playing video games, whether it's reading, whether it's listening to music, whatever you can do to have some time to relax. I think it's super important, because at the end of the day, stress, anxiety takes years off your life. I want to talk very quickly about a model there's a number of models in social work, but we're going to just go over one called a biopsychosocial model tonight. Biopsychosocial is exactly what it sounds. Three parts: biology, psychology, sociology. You look at a person, so from all three scales. This is a strategy that a lot of social workers use. What biology says: individual, how are they with their environment? How are they doing physically, health wise? Do they have addiction issues? Do they have um, what's going on with their biology? Do they have an illness? Do they have a family member with an illness? Whatever can cause you. If you got natural depression, all of this goes in there, which goes to the second one, which is psychology. The psychology is what really I want to talk about in this episode, because psychology is so critical. You know, what's the psychology of the individual? So let's look at me. I'm totally fine with me being used as a model. Biology. I have a learning disability. I'm 29, going to be 30 years old. I'm about 6 feet tall, about 5'11", 6 feet tall. Um, I've had some weight issues. I've had some eating issues. Um, Never had a broken bone. Then you have psychology. What's going on psychology wise? I have learning disability. I've had depression. Um, I have had a friend commit suicide, so I dealt with depression. Um, and then you have the social, which is the last one, which I mentioned earlier, which is your society around you. Are you part of community groups? Do you have a group of friends, family? What are the groups that you connect with? Your biopsychosocial. So for me, I have a great tight knit group of friends. Um, I have my work, my coworkers. I have my podcast. I have another podcast. I have my podcast family. All of these things are things you should be thinking about all the time. Where do you land on the biopsychosocial scale? And with social work, you're going to think about this for your clients as well. Person A, where I would say Jane, where's Jane's biology? Is she healthy? Is she unhealthy? Does she eat too much? Does she not eat enough? Does she have um does she have any disability disorders? Does she um what's going on in her biology? Psychology? What's going on in the brain? Is she um does she have depression, anxiety, right? What's going on inside her head? And social, where does she revolve around society? Does she is she part of a sports team that she works with? Is she close to her family? All of these biopsychosocials are such a good thing to think about when you've got something like an election going on that can cause a lot of stress. And if you look at yourself through the biopsychosocial model, you'll be able to say to break yourself down in a way that you haven't thought before. Um, so I just want everyone to think of themselves through this model. Maybe even write yourself down and be relaxed. Don't lose your mind, and you'll be just fine. Whatever happens, don't lose your mind. Don't waste your energy. It's not worth it.